It's Bourbon Night. Hello, I'm Chad.
I'm Sarah.
And it's the best bourbons of 2022.
We made it!
A year in the making and a good solid month of blind reviewing, tasting, blind reviewing.
Hard work.
Has brought us here.
Right, and we're gonna get to the rules, but before we do that, we wanna tell you that the chapter marks are down below, so if you wanna skip ahead and spoil the results for yourself, that's fine. You can do that.
You can
won't stop you.
We won't judge you if you go ahead and jump to number one.
No one will know.
So let's go ahead and get to the rules.
So the first rule is that we're only doing bourbons and finished bourbons in here. It had to start out as a bourbon first. Ryes are separate this year.
This might be obvious, but maybe not. The bourbon had to be released in the year of 2022, and it had to have a distinct release. So if we were lucky enough to find a Weller 107 that we bought in 2022, sorry, that doesn't count. There's no distinct 2022 edition.
And if we can't taste it, we can't rank it, so it has to be something that we actually had access to.
Now, there may be some single barrels in this contention, but none of them were single barrel picks. So picks are out.
So now that the rules are out of the way, we gotta fill you in on our methodology. At the end of the year, we compile a list of our top 25 and we pour them into blind sample bottles.
As in previous years, we added 5 everyday staples to the mix to test how non-limited, fairly available bourbons would stack up against the best of the year.
Starting in November, we would grab a sample bottle at random and score it.
Yeah, you all remember our little tourney wheel thing, right?
Our scoring system was out of 100 possible points. Nose, palate, mouthfeel, and finish, each worth 25.
The bourbon's appearance, price, and availability are not evaluated or factored into the score.
Right, because if we knew the price and availability, then we would know what it was and it wouldn't be blind. We scored each bourbon independently and then took the average of both of our scores to get the final score.
We tasted and scored over a month-long period, so after we scored all the samples, we took our top 10 and did them in a blind sort of flight fight style as a way to double-check our results.
As we say often on here, you know, your tastes can kind of change day to day.
That's right.
Some days I might be feeling a little more, generous with my points. Some days I might be a little more curmudgeon-y with my points. So we just want to make sure that of our top 10 in relation to each other, all in a lineup, the flight fight effect, it really does reveal things.
Yeah, it does.
And if you don't know what a flight fight is, welcome to our channel.
Yeah, welcome to the channel. Please subscribe. All right, well, let's just go ahead and jump into it now with our best bourbon of 2022 that came in number 10. Old Fitzgerald Fall Edition 19 year.
Yep, I mean 100 proof, but that 19 years though really makes up for it.
Yeah, so when we blind tasted this, what are some of the things that you put down, Sarah?
On the nose, some spiced pear and floral, some pleasant oak. Kind of the same notes on the palate, just delicate and easy to drink, but with that age being apparent. Age
apparent, yeah, for sure. We like Old Fitz the best when it gets old Fitz. Like that 16 year, kind of like anything 15 year and above has really worked well for us. Some of the younger 9 ones we've liked, but haven't made it, you know, cracked into that top 10. Yeah. All right, let's see what is at number 9.
Four-Gate Kelvin Collaboration 4.
Yes.
I am not surprised by this one. We loved the Four-Gate Kelvin collab too, and we put the 3 in last year's.
Yeah, the three showed up as well, I think, or I think it was on the bubble last year. But 2 made it into top 5.
That's right. Yeah. I just love a good Kelvin finish. It's so delicious.
Ooh, let's see.
What you got there for the notes?
For the nose, had caramel and oak, dessert notes on the palate, nice cinnamon spice, caramel, touch of leather and oak, building heat, and very enjoyable.
I mean, what's not to like about that?
Yes.
Not a surprise here either.
Not a surprise, yeah. Russell's Reserve Single Barrel 13 year. We like this year's better than last year's, which was the first year of the 13 year. That's when, you know, people were going wild over it.
And that's why we put it in last year. We liked it, but we weren't sure if we loved it best, you know, top 25 of the year. So we put it in just because the community was all an uproar about it. So we were like, we got to see how this fares. And it did fairly well, but I like this year's better.
Yeah, on a live, we tested last year's versus this year's, and both of us hands down said this year's.
I wrote for this one on the nose, some rich raisin, berry, cinnamon, char, which are like, you know, 10 out of 10s for me when it comes to tasting notes. On the palate, just oaky, rich, silky, viscous, a coating mouthfeel. Again, more of that raisin. And, you know, some oak and cinnamon and a nice, warm, long finish. Who could be mad about that? King of Kentucky. This one was barrel 24 specifically, so if you've got a different one, as we've found in the past, they can vary. But that's the one that we had access to, so that's the one that we reviewed.
Yeah, bottle 18 of 97, so only 97 out of this non-chill filtered barrel proof beast. Rich, thick nose. Wowza. Dates, figs, leather, cinnamon spice. On the palate I wrote, first thing was, whoa! Little Joey Lawrence from back in the day. Dark, ripe fruits, oak, molasses, mulled wine, black pepper, rich and thick, raisin, deep plum, barrel, and fig jam. I kind of went on a tear.
Dang, you really did. It had a lot going on. It was powerful.
It did, yes.
A powerful pour.
It was a powerful pour. Maybe that even when we were sort of doing our check back and forth, our double check, it might have been a little bit overpowering compared to some of the others. So I might have actually heard it a little bit, because there was a little bit of ranking change from our blind scores to our top 10 taste through.
That's right. Yeah. I feel like this one's kind of a Cinderella story for you, Chad. I mean, King of Kentucky went from something that you thought you hated because of the early batch that we got from the first release.
I did hate that particular single barrel from the first release.
I also did not like it.
And all the friends we had come over, we said, please taste this. And they're like, yeah, what is this? This is not good. So
but everyone
it was an outlier. Yes.
But everyone that we've had since then was very good. And this one is great.
Yes. The Bardstown Collection, Bardstown Bourbon Company Edition.
That's a mouthful. It's a lot of Bardstown.
It's a lot of Bardstown. Well, there is a lot of Bardstown in that bottle.
There is a lot. I mean, it is the earliest, their very first discovery release that they held back some and then extra aged it. And that's what went into this bottle. 122.7 proof.
Yes.
This was like one of the earliest ones that we had kind of earmarked this year. It came out in January of 2022, like the second week of January, I think.
Yeah, that's when the release party was,
The first LE that we had of the year was this series. We earmarked that one pretty early, and I'll tell you why. My notes were dark, rich, cherry, raisin, cinnamon sugar, rich, delicious oak. On the palate, I said robust, bold, intense. I mean, just a lot of descriptive words. Coating, luscious, rich mouthfeel. And the finish was just, I mean, it had the sweet, dark fruit notes, but also that oak. A really nice balance of cinnamon, and it was long and just great. I'm excited.
Yes, I echo all of those. It was fantastic. We're getting ready to venture into the top 5 territory, but before we do, we want to hit pause and tell you about our home on the internet. It's whiskyambitions.com. It's where you can get the t-shirt that I'm wearing, also hats, the Cut Crystal Glencairns.
We felt fancy.
Absolutely.
It is the best of the year.
Yeah, it's fancy. But all of our other t-shirts and hoodies and bottle cut candles and more, that's always coming soon at whiskyambitions.com.
And you can become a patron in 2023 by visiting patreon.com/itsbourbonnight and join our community for as little as $1 a month. That is where you'll get to participate in voting for the It's Bourbon Night Awards and get after the episode exclusive content and barrel picks and access to be on barrel picks potentially, depending on your tier, and discounts on merch and more.
Ooh, yeah. All right, let's break into that top 5.
William LaRue Weller, or WLW as those who know it lovingly call it.
Part of the BTAC, Buffalo Trace Antique Collection.
Every year that we've gotten to try this one, it does kind of top the charts.
Yeah, I don't know if it's never, a year that we've had it.
It hasn't been top 5.
It hasn't been in the top 5. This year, right at the top 5 spot.
That's right. I did feel like it was very, very good. Like, on an excellent level.
Yes.
However, they have made more excellent William LaRue Wellers in the past.
Agreed.
In my opinion.
Yeah, normally it's, for us anyway, it's between WLW and the George T. Stagg, which one is the best of the BTAC. This year, we kind of felt the George T. Stagg was a little more exceptional.
Chad, don't spoil it.
Well, that was just for the BTAC.
That's true.
And the WLW, we thought was, you know, as you said, good, but not as good as previous years. What about some of the notes, Sarah? Because I said spices and baked bread, lemon zest, cinnamon, oak, cider. On the palate, I said cherry. That's the first thing. Oak, pepper, plum, and fig. Good hug, long finish, high proof, honey, and yum.
Our notes are a bit disconnected sometimes. I think we were on different pages on this one, but we ranked it pretty similarly. I said spiced plum and pear on the nose with leather, an old bookstore sort of nostalgic, atmospheric thing, which is one of the things that I love the most about this one. It really transported me. Palate was, you know, sweet but bold with like really nice oak, a delicate spice, you know, a luscious, oily mouthfeel, and then a long, lingering finish with oak and tobacco, some dark fruit, and just a touch of the tannic from the oak, but it was all in great balance.
Now let's get this right. I know a lot of people will never see this at all, or definitely not for retail, but in some states, sometimes you will be able to find it for the suggested retail price of $99. And in that case, it is an exceptional value. An LE being a value, yeah, when it tastes like this and it's $99, especially in today's bourbon market, value.
Now, we recognize that you probably won't find it for that, but if you are entering a lottery and you're torn between the ones to choose from, we're just giving you our input. And if you're at a bar and you're feeling like having a fancy birthday, anniversary / special occasion pour for whatever it is you did, it's not a bad one to ask for.
The Heaven Hill Heritage Collection 17-year. Now, Sarah, even though it's called 17-year, that's the youngest that's in there.
Right.
It also has 19 and 20-year, and actually the lion's share is 19 years, but because of law, the youngest has to be, if you're gonna age state it, what's on there.
I mean, that's not sad for me.
No.
This one's what, 118.2?
118.2.
When we first tried this one, when I tasted it, I thought that's gonna be my favorite thing that I try all year. And this one came about mid-year. I think it was in the summer that we got this one.
So at that point, it probably was.
At that point in my mind, I said, this is my favorite thing I've had all year so far, and I'm definitely we're putting this in.
Oh yeah, it's
and
going
you
into
didn't
contention.
you didn't disagree
I did
either.
not disagree at all.
Oh man, this is one of those ones that I think about it a lot.
What poetic musings did you write about it?
I said on the
Regale
nose,
us.
some mulled wine spices, so just like those rich berry, allspice, some butterscotch, again with more berries, cracked pepper, and orange peel, so kind of like one of those big pots, just simmering, yummy holiday pots that you put on the stove.
Simmer it.
On the palate, I said rich spice, full-bodied, again with a dark fruit, sort of in a wine vicinity of like, is it cherry, is it blackberry, is whatever. Tobacco, pepper, cinnamon, and buttery. And on the finish, I said the butteriness lingers with tobacco, that spice, and those dark fruit notes carrying through.
Yowzas.
This one can rock me to sleep at night. Like,
Yeah, this is another one where on the palate, the first thing I wrote was, whoa. I wrote about the mouthfeel, great mouthfeel. A little bit of leather in there is what I was picking up because of that age, and also the tobacco. Yeah, just rich.
If this was at a bar and I was having a special occasion pour, this would be a top choice for me.
Absolutely.
Four Roses, limited edition, small batch.
Yeah, AKA last year's winner. I mean, not this
Spoilers.
one. 2021
Won last
year. This year it's in fourth. Still.
This year it's in third.
Or third, yeah. I can't even, what's in this?
You can't count.
What's in this? Yeah, third. So.
Still holding its own.
Still holding its own. Two top 5 finishes.
Especially when you consider at 109 proof. Like, people do love to call us proof hounds, and they're not wrong.
Not wrong.
But when we look at the other things that we're tasting in this realm, a lot of them are over 110, usually 120, even over 130 proof.
Yeah.
So for something at 109 proof to sneak in there and be at number 3.
That just speaks to its character and its complexity and
what it's able to achieve.
Yes.
Well, they blend those four different recipes, and it's different every year.
Yeah.
This one is a blend of between 14 and 20 year bourbons, and I just think that what they're able to achieve with balancing those 4 out with the 10 the recipes that they choose.
Yes.
It's just so good.
I agree. Let me give you some of my nose notes. I said syrup and oak, butter wash bourbon, I don't know, silky and creamy, tobacco and berries and cream. On the palate, I said, yes, please, in all caps. Oak and butter and cream and caramel and pipe tobacco, richness, not super long, but very nice. That's probably due to the 109. Then I wrote, shut up. Nice clove spice, orange zest, mouthfeel, plus.
So this one I got some very interesting notes from. On the nose, I wrote Swiss rolls with like a raspberry jam on the inside.
Okay.
Like a creamy, chocolate, fruity. It also had some like herbal notes and just subtle oak and complexities going on the nose. I really felt like that carried through to the palate because I got berry, chocolate, a little herbal, creamy, silky, viscous, and I wrote complex in big letters.
Getting hot in here?
And then like delicate oak and that lingering chocolate with a building warmth on the finish. It's just pleasant, and it has so many of the right things from like the bourbon flavor wheel in such harmony.
Yeah.
It's just a very harmonious pour.
It definitely earns the title of exceptional. Like it's an exceptional bourbon. George T. Stagg.
Back again.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, there you are.
There he is. Yeah, above that WLW a few spots for us this year. But yeah, was not in the BTAC collection last year.
No.
This year he came back. Not only that, it's the highest proof since
2016.
Since 2016.
So coming back with the bang.
With a vengeance.
138.
This time it's personal.
138.7 proof feels a little personal.
Yeah.
Right?
15 and a half years. I mean, it's got the bona fides on paper, but that also transferred to the blind taste.
Man, I love this one. And I'll tell you what, I had a hard time choosing between first and second. I'd say it was close.
It was very close. I'm going to read your notes, Sarah. How about this? So Sarah said on the nose, she said rich oak, brown sugar, dark chocolate, and vanilla. On the palate, she said powerful, deep, rich butterscotch, coating mouthfeel. Same flavors as the nose. That's a cop-out. I'm just kidding.
Same notes. Same notes.
Same notes. Along with cinnamon and chocolate chip pecan pie.
Yeah.
With a butterscotch finish with a little heat that's a long finish. The rich oak lingers.
There was so much oak because, for me, that 15 and a half years, we're teetering on, is it too much oak, especially at that high proof? And it was definitely like at the peak, right?
Yeah.
It was the perfect amount without going too far. On the palate, you said rich with an exclamation point. Yes. Cherry, vanilla, oak, syrupy sugars, stone fruits, and a long finish, and just very warming. And on the second sip, he said a tad dry, and I think that's from the oak, those tannins from the oak. But a building heat that just doesn't taste as high proof as it is, which it does knock you back a little. It gives a good punch.
It does.
As a stag does.
But for almost being a hazmat, I mean, not too far away from a hazmat, it's still like, all right.
But you do get that warmth on the finish.
Yeah.
And you acknowledge that heat coming through. I mean, that one punches for sure. So
as stags tend to do.
They do. It
did not disappoint. We always say stags buck.
They do.
And this one bucked.
Yeah.
So Sarah, if that's number 2,
what is number 1?
What could possibly
I feel like everybody was
one?
predicting, they're just gonna put BTAX in number 1 like they have in the past, or like everyone does. I don't know if everyone does that. I don't know. But it's hard not to. They're very good.
They are very good.
But they didn't come in number 1.
No.
So what did come in number 1?
Let's find out.
Parker's Heritage Double Barreled Blend. This was a late entry.
Yes.
Honestly, it was this close to not making it in.
It was actually a December
entry.
And we did have to sub something out. We'll get into that in the analysis show. We'll tell you what that one was. But we actually had to sub something that we'd already reviewed out. And
don't worry, you didn't miss anything.
Yeah, and put this in blind. But wow. So spec-wise, maybe not as impressive. You could say spec-wise, but again, specs are just there to sort of help you, but not to determine.
I mean, it does have that 132.2 proof.
132.2, not the highest, but very, very close. So it is 67% of this blend is a 13-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey that is then finished for 4 weeks in a second barrel. Then it's blended post-aging with 33% of a 15-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey.
Yeah.
And it just works.
It just works. The balance between them, from the moment we tasted the media sample on this one, I was like, I'm in love.
Yeah, and it was such a Hail Mary, right? Because it came in the middle of December, and
wasn't
we were
expecting
like,
it.
okay, let's, does this need to be in? And we're like, yup.
So it was gonna have to really fight to get to boot something else out and get in. And boy, again, the moment it touched our lips, we were like, this is amazing.
Yeah, let me read you some of my notes. I said on the nose, cooked sweets. I don't know.
What does
brown sugar, plum, slight cherry, but on the palate, I wrote, wow, yes, exclamation point, all caps. Clove spice, sugar plums, dancing in my head.
Dancing.
And in the chest feels. Raisin, I wrote purple. It's just a thing.
Don't
purple.
worry about it.
Kentucky Hug, a barrel finish, well-rounded mulled spices, wine. Yeah, my highest scored, blind scored of the whole thing.
And I wrote on my nose, oak and tobacco, pepper, and dark cherry on the palate. Bold, powerful proof, rich, creamy. I think this was the only thing I said creamy about. Oak, tobacco, dark cherry, some syrup, light spice, and dark chocolate with oak, chocolate, tobacco, cherry, and all that carrying through on a long finish.
Yes.
This was one of my highest scores. Again, when we're talking about my top 3 highest scores, I think they were within 0.25, so a quarter of a point.
We were also 0.25 difference on our score.
Yeah.
Mine was 0.25 higher than what you scored this one. But again, they're averaged, and then it's in the top 10. It was more like the top 5. We did have the top 10, but we separated them. Top 5, we did things. Got that first, because that's the most important, right, on the palate. Then we dealt with that 6 through 10.
Right.
But
we make sure everything is where it's supposed to be, taste-wise, back to back. I will say that this is the one that it, on average, got the highest score between us. Like I said, we were 0.25 different, so we've got the average top score anyways.
Yes.
And then when we did the flight, fight, blind,
double check.
The double check, we call it, it remained in first.
Yes.
So I couldn't be more pleased with this one. It has a little bit of everything, right? It has the proof of and that richness that we loved from the George T. Stagg pour, but I feel like it has the balance of those two blended things and the finish, kind of similar to what the Four Roses had going for it, of the blending of the different ages.
Yeah.
But it's got a little bit of that double barreled in there, like which is what the Foregate goes with and the Kelvin. And
and I feel like the 13 and the 15, great ages to combine. Not too oak heavy, not too proof heavy, although both of those were very well represented and very well rounded. I feel like the WLW and the George T. Stagg kind of share similar DNA. I mean, one's wheated, one's not, but they're from the same distillery. They're of that upper echelon, and that can be a very enticing flavor profile for those two.
Yeah, I hear that.
And it could be hard to beat. This one for us, I feel like beat it because I feel like it was the earthiness, the benefit of the double barreling, the good age without it being too oaky for you can be too oaky can be a killer. That unadulterated, uncut proof, which also the George T. Stagg had and actually was higher proof, but I don't know, something about this one just tied together just this much more.
Right, and I think like you said, like the George T. Stagg had a lot of that one thing, which is that really great just Buffalo Trace true signature DNA.
Playing the hits.
A lot of it, and that's great.
Yes.
We love that. This, where they were able to blend it and then do that little bit of double barreling on one of them, it just gave it another layer. I don't know, it just added to the complexity.
A new note or a new
nuance.
Song in the set list or something. Like BTAC is playing the hits. We've been lucky enough to have been tasting those for a few years now. I don't know, maybe if this, a new player has entered the chat or whatever, entered the game, was what said it just a little bit more because, Parker's Heritage, this is the 16th edition of it, by the way, but every edition has been different. So this is a completely new expression while also being the 16th expression of the line.
Sure, and like to be fair, they did an edition a few back that was like an orange curacao finish that neither of us were fans of. So it's not like every Parker's that comes out we're like, yes.
right. Yeah.
I will say though, I feel like, who's killing it this season?
Heaven Hill.
Heaven Hill.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 of our top 10.
That's right.
3 of our top 10 have come from this distillery. And I will say, I feel like all of our top 10 were excellent pours.
Yeah,
if you had the chance to get any of them, I would recommend it.
So just thinking about it now, 5 of our top 10 spots were from 2 distilleries. That's Heaven Hill and Buffalo Trace.
Wow. But it's blind, so I mean, I know people will be like, well, obviously.
But they're also two of the biggest, 2 of the ones that I feel like represent that LE category
very renowned,
very well every year.
It's true. And I'm sorry for those people who are like, well, I can already feel you in the comments. I'll never see any of these. I'm sorry.
Well, hopefully you will find a really great price on a pour, or you'll luck into a bottle at retail, whether you want to spend that high retail price or not.
I'm blessing you. I hope you get
all the good luck.
New Year, good
all
luck.
All the good luck.
Hope you find these in 2023.
Yeah. Speaking of the new year, we do want to say Happy New Year to you whenever you're watching this. You're watching it right before the end of 22 or right in the beginning of 2023. We're hoping you have a great one.
Yeah. Be on the lookout for the great pours of next year.
That is right. And here is a New Year's resolution we hope you adopt. That is subscribing to our channel if you have not already. We'll make it real easy. You can do so by clicking right up here. There's suggestions of other videos down here. We can see you over there in one of those. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Chad.
Thank you all. Happy New Year and good drinks. Till then, drink more bourbon.
Bye.